We see a young Peter Parker playing hide and seek with his father. He enters his father's study to see papers all thrown around and the window broken. Peter's dad quickly runs in the room and grabs important documents before grabbing Peter, and they all flee the house. And one thing I'm going to add is we're going to have a scene of them driving Peter to his aunt and uncle's house, and there's going to be some cryptic dialogue that we're going to have to sort of dive into that storyline of his parents. We then have the scene of Peter getting dropped off at his aunt and uncle's before his parents leaving without an explanation. We then see Peter Parker much older in high school, and he will still get bullied by Flash Thompson, but it will be a bit more intense in my version. And one thing I'm adding is Flash Thompson will reference Harry Osborn, so it's less jarring when he finally appears in a future film in the series. Later that day, Flash Thompson is picking on another student, and Peter will try to intervene, but will end up getting beat up, and in my version, Gwen will not come to Peter's aid. And the first meeting between Gwen Stacy and Peter will be different. They won't have that chemistry yet. It will be they're partnered up for a assignment or something, and there's a bit of banter there. To have Peter return home, he would have the same scene in the kitchen with Aunt May and Uncle Ben so he can show their dynamic. And then we'll ask Peter to help him clean out the basement, and that scene will be the same. Peter will find the briefcase belonging to his father. He discovers a secret compartment that has files inside. He learns that his father used to work for Oscorp and that his partner was Kurt Connors. And so he does research into it and learns that his father worked on cross-species genetics. The next day, Peter will go to Oscorp. Peter will sneak inside using another intern's ID. And in my version, it will not be Gwen Stacy that's leading the tour, but Dr. Connor's wife. Gwen will still be there in my version as a intern herself, and she'll still confront Peter. Peter will still bump into that guy with the folder that had the same symbols on it, and he will still follow him. Peter will still enter the room and see the experiment that involves spiders. He will still enter it before messing it up, causing all the spiders to fall on him, and he will still end up getting bit by the spider. And I'm going to add where we actually see Peter walk to the train station, stumbling around as the effect of the spider take place. I'm also going to add where we actually see him pass out, but then the rest of that scene will be the same, where we actually see him beat all these guys up accidentally by using his powers, and then he will return home, discover the spider that bit him, and that scene will be the same. The next day he will realize he has all these powers, and then after all that plays out, he's gonna go meet Dr. Connors. And Peter will reveal that he is actually the son of Richard Parker. And that scene will play out pretty much the same, but we will actually have Dr. Connor's son be there. Peter finishes the formula and they agree to meet again. Flash will end up bullying a girl by spilling paint on her work. Peter notices this and goes over to help her. Flash once again will knock the basketball over to her, but Peter will catch it. And when Flash asks for the ball back, Peter will start bullying him. But he won't do anything as insane as what he did in the actual film, and he will not break the basketball goal. But Uncle Ben is still called because they probably got into a fight, and that scene will play out pretty much the same. And then Peter will go see Dr. Connors, And that scene will play out roughly the same, with them being able to test the new formula and it actually works. Peter will return home and realizes he forgot to pick up Aunt May. Uncle Ben will yell at him and bring up his father, but Peter will say that why isn't he here, and that will pretty much play out the same before Peter will storm out. Uncle Ben will go look for Peter even though Aunt May says not to and to leave him alone. Everything at the gas station will be the same, with Peter not having enough money. The robber will rob the place, and when the person will ask for Peter's help, he says it's not his problem, instead not his policy or whatever he says, but it will end in Uncle Ben being shot and dying, with the only person around being Peter, and that scene will play out the same. The next day at school, Flash will walk over to him and Peter will pin him up against the wall, but he will say that he's sorry for everything he did, and Gwen will also try to console him, but no effects. Peter will then start walking around the streets. We'll come across this guy attacking a girl. He will pick a fight with him and trying to see if one of them is the guy that killed Uncle Ben, and it is revealed that it's not because he doesn't have the tattoo, and Peter will get away, but will end up falling in a wrestling arena, and he sees a painting on the wall that gives him the idea for his new mask. And then we're going to see a montage sequence of him as he's making his new Spider-Man costume, and we see a bit of him like starting to fight crime as Spider-Man, and we see George Stacy's fonts to everything. And then we get that scene with Spider-Man messing with that criminal and the officer before escaping, and then we see the police chase. And then we also get the scene with Dr. Connors as he's told to start human trials or he's fired and all that. So he will end up injecting himself with the serum, and we will actually see that it works. It starts to cause a negative effect, and we see as it starts to change him into the Lizard. Everything at dinner will be the same, as George, Stacy, and Peter will still have that argument about Spider-Man as we see their different views on his take. They will be excused, and then we will have the rooftop scene where Peter will reveal to Gwen that he is Spider-Man, and they will kiss for the first time before George, Stacy, and Peter both have to rush to the bridge because there's a commotion. We will then see Peter change into his Spider-Man costume, and we will see the same scene where Peter is saving cars, and he will still save that kid, but the Lizard gets away because he chooses to save the kid. That scene will all be the same, and then we have Peter goes to Dr. Connor's office, and he's there, but something is off about him. So Peter starts to suspect that it could be Dr. Connors that is the Lizard. Especially when he sees one of the rats that was infected by it eating another one of the animals. So he goes to George Stacy and tells him all this, but he just blows him off. And then we see Peter set up the trap to try to find the Lizard, and he also has a picture set up, and of course we will still get that fight, and all that will be the same. The lizard will still find Peter's camera. Peter will still go to Gwen to get patched up, and that scene will be pretty much the same. The lizard will still attack the school, and after making sure Gwen is safe, Peter will fight the lizard, and all that will play the same there during their fight. George Stacy will order a arrest for both of them, but near one of them is captured. We see Peter still trying to track down the lizard, and a lot of the film here will be the same as we learn what his final plan is, and Gwen Stacy will still go to Oscorp when Peter tried to warn her, but it will not help. Spider-Man will still get captured, and George will learn that it's actually Peter, and that scene will play out the same as he lets Peter go to save Gwen. And the dad of the kid he saved is seeing this on the news, and he will help out, but there will only be one crane. Peter will use the crane to swing to Oscorp, just like in the actual film, but there will only be one, and George will agree to get the antidote to Spider-Man and reveals that he actually knows that Peter is Spider-Man, and the fight will still be the same, roughly, with George Stacy helping, and Peter will be able to put the antidote in and will be able to save everyone, but George Stacy will still get injured, and the whole thing about the antidote releasing will, of course, be the same. We will see the cops return to normal. Dr. Connors will save Peter with his arm as it fades away, and one change I'm making is Captain Stacy, just like in the comics, will actually tell Peter to look after his daughter. And so we'll see the relationship and how it's better. We will have his funeral and all that. But he will actually be there, and they will still be in a relationship at the end of the film. And we will see Flash and him they are actually now somewhat friends, and I'm going to make it to where Flash at the end might not actually be a bully, and we will see Peter swing off one last time. And that's where I'm going to end it here, and I'll see you all in the next one.